Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of On Point for today, the 22nd day of November 2024. And of course, my name is Alexis Jeffers and I'm here once again for another edition of this program. And of course, I have been missing for a few weeks for various reasons, which, would have prevented me from coming here. And I've always said that once I'm not able to be here, I want to get someone who would volunteer to come and be here in your company for this hour. But we're yet to find anyone because it's lunchtime for many persons. And of course, if they have a lunch engagement, it will not permit them to be here. But I am here during my lunch break, though, because I have said also that once I'm able to, I'll come. But On Point will always be on the calendar here at Von Radio for as long as we can keep it there. And once I am able to come, I will be here. So I am here this afternoon, and it is indeed my pleasure to be here. So while I'm at that, let me say good afternoon to all of our listeners right here on the island of Nevis, all of the parishes, St. James, St. Thomas Parish, St. Paul's, St. John's, and St. George Parish. And of course, we have followers and listeners down in St. Kitts, not only to this program, which we appreciate, but also to Von Radio, the Caribbean's only powerhouse. Of course, we have listeners in terms of our citizens who are down in the St. Martin, that is, in St. Eustatius, Sabre, St. Bart's, the British and U.S. Virgin Islands. Of course, in the United States, spanning the eastern seaboard all the way into the heartland of America and across the western flank of the United States, and of course Canada, which is north of the United States, of course, spreading the same landmass, so to speak. We have a lot of persons who are in the Toronto area who are from these parts, and also in Ontario and other parts of Canada. We say good afternoon or good morning to you wherever you are, because there are various time zones that span both the United States and also Canada as well. Up in Europe, for example, in England, we want to say good afternoon to our citizens there who regularly tuned into Von Radio. And throughout the whole of Europe, of course, France and Germany and all those places, we have citizens who are there for various reasons. So we want to say good afternoon to you. And of course, over in Asia, we do have students and persons living in, for example, in the Republic of China, Taiwan. We want to say good morning to you just after 1 in the morning on a Saturday morning there. So those who would have stayed up to listen to On Point or to listen to the information coming out of Nevis through Von Radio, I say welcome to you. So I've covered the whole globe. I didn't touch South America, but we have persons down in Panama, and I'm sure all the way down in Argentina and those places. So wherever you are, welcome, and thanks for tuning in to Von Radio this afternoon. Well, of course, this program we normally would touch on a few public service announcements prior to getting into what we intend to discuss on our Friday afternoon. So let me just, at this point in time, acknowledge those families that are in the bereaved column this afternoon. I am speaking for the first time publicly. So at this point in time, I want to express my condolences to the entire family of Mr. Edric Stanley, who would have passed away a few weeks ago. I have not gotten a chance to publicly do so, so I'm doing so now. And in doing so, I will also pay homage to him in this regard, because I've known Edric Stanley for a number of years. As a matter of fact, over 30 years. My knowledge of him and getting to know him even more would have started somewhere back in the early 90s, I believe somewhere around 1990, 1991, or maybe before that. But my dealings with him were somewhere around 1991, 1992, thereabout. We all know Stanley was a jack of all trade and master of all, because he was a businessman, a politician, a realtor. He was also one who offered sound advice as well. And he was one who was knowledgeable about almost every and anything out there. He can hold a discussion with you about every single topic that was raised. So that is why I say he was the jack of all trade and master of all, because some will say jack of all trade, master of none. Well, Stanley mastered many, because he was such a verse person, meaning he had an in-depth knowledge into what was happening around him in the region and also internationally, because you can go to his business place, or you could have gone to his business place there in Church Ground, and of course his television was always on CNN or one of those major news network, so he followed the politics and the news out of the United States and also the stock market and that kind of thing. And indeed he was one who stayed in tune with what is happening around him, happening throughout the globe. And I want to encourage all of us to do likewise, because that would really broaden your horizon in terms of your knowledge and your your appreciation as to what is happening throughout the world. But coming closer to my knowledge and my connection to Stanley, at least at one point I was the manager of TDC Rentals down there in Charlestown. And indeed Stanley had a small rental fleet himself. When I say small, 2 new Jeeps and 2 new cars, 4 vehicles in total. At that time TDC had about 105 vehicles, quite a number of vehicles. And even though we had so many vehicles, we still had the need for more. And I would call Stanley up and say, Stanley, man, I have some business for you. But he would say, Jeff, I don't take chances with my vehicles. I don't give them to anybody. But I would trust you, knowing who you are. So I would get those 4 vehicles to rent, on behalf of TDC, not for me. And indeed his prices were a bit lower than TDC's prices, so whatever the difference is, you'll say TDC would hold that, and then Stanley would get his full price for his vehicles. That we used to rent them out for many weeks or sometimes months, because things were so good at that point in time, with little players in the markets. When I say little players, not in terms of size but in terms of numbers. You had TDC and Noel and Strikers and a couple other small car rentals at that time. So the competition was, TDC really was the big dog, so to speak, at that point in time. And Stanley had his small fleet, but he was very protective of his vehicles and didn't want to rent them to anybody. So I used to get those and rent them for him and make sure that he got his monies and so forth. So that is one of the ways that I can remember him in terms of interacting that way. And I remember we had this small band. I was the assistant manager then, but this gentleman, what's his name, Marcel Hanley, he was the manager, and he asked me to join with him to manage this small band called Hot Shots. Corey Tyson and a gentleman by the name of Bam, he is the son of what's his name, Deborah Tyrrell, her name, sorry. And a couple other folks who were in that band. Those days monies were tough. We didn't have any amplifier and speakers and so forth, but we used to rent those things, and to make some money we used to go to the various parts and play some music and try to collect something at the gate or at the door. One of the places we would have gone to is upstairs, Stanley's business place up there at Church Ground. I asked him and he said, listen, Jeff, you can come with your band. Y'all can use it on a Saturday night. He didn't charge us anything for that. So we used to go. Well, the turnout were not as robust per se, but at least just Stanley trying to help and to assist us as young people coming up at that point in time. I commend him for that, and I can never forget him for that. And indeed some of those players would have gone on to larger bands and have made their impact in the musical landscape here on the island of Nevis. So that is another thing that I can recall when it comes to Stanley. In the real estate business, of course, when I became the Minister of Lands, as a new minister in the NIA, well, he approached me and started giving me some tidbits, I told Stanley I'm not here to sell lands as if I am a private realtor or in the private sector. The government have its ways of disposing of lands, but he gave me some tidbits as to what to look for and how to look at prices and how to negotiate and that kind of thing. So he was also influential in that regard, Politics, of course, we would have discussed politics on a number of occasions. You would have heard him from this very seat say he was a politician back in the day, and he ran for public office right here on the island of Nevis. Of course, didn't fare too well, but I think he took it in stride. So some persons can be defeated or can see this, taste defeat, but they're not defeated. And Stanley was one who tasted defeat, but he was never defeated in anything, because he was always one who rebounded, and he had that resilience, and he had that persistence in what he did, what he said, and all of his actions suggested to me that Stanley would have lived a wonderful life in terms of making sure that he made some impact here on the island of Nevis, in the Virgin Islands where he once lived, and further afield where he would have served in various capacities, I'm sure. But we certainly will miss Stanley, or Edric, and indeed I have not heard of any obituary notices for him as to when his funeral will be held. But we'll listen to Von Radio, because more than likely here's where you'll get that information shortly, I'm sure, as to when that funeral service will be held. So listen up to Von Radio for that information, or bits of information regarding his funeral. So Stanley, we'll certainly miss him, may his soul rest in peace, but he would have made his contribution to the overall development of the island of Nevis, and it can be felt, it can be seen, and of course, based on the foundation he would have laid, we can certainly just push on and build on what he would have certainly left behind. And may his soul rest in peace once again, and my condolences once again to his entire family. But he was a good man, and he would have had his impact right here on the island of Nevis. There are other families that are grieving at this time, and I want to extend my warmest condolences and say to you that it might be a challenging time to deal with a loss, but of course you want to ensure that you have that cohesiveness in your family, so you can band together and go through these difficult times together, because of course once you band together, you're a united force, and with a united force, of course, there's where the strength and the sustenance would come from. But always look to God for your strength and all of your desires, because He'll always be there at your side. And so that's it for those who are facing challenges at this time. We skip now to those who are celebrating. I don't have a list of persons at this time either, but I can say to you that there must be someone out there celebrating today. And those who are celebrating, as I've always said, celebrate as if it is the last day or last birthday you're celebrating. It is not the last, and it may not be the last, but through the health and strength that is provided to you by our Lord and Savior, you will live to see many more. But this one, celebrate it like it's the last. And what I mean by that, spend some money on yourself. Go up to one of these beauty places or one of these places where they offer massages and pedicure, manicure, that kind of thing. Spend some money on yourself. Beautify yourself. Feel good about turning another page in terms of adding another year to your life. And then once you do all these things, you'll be adding life to your years, meaning you'll be happy about what you would have done. And indeed, I always say as well, whatever you have in terms of finances, spend it on yourself, because once you have the health and strength, you'll be able to make some back to replace it or replenish what you would have spent, yeah? But spend some money on yourself, spend some time on yourself, spend what you can for your birthday on yourself, and enjoy it. Mine is coming up soon, and you know I'm going to enjoy mine, God's willing. So yes, let's move on. Okay, we're still in the hurricane season. We're almost at the end, but we still have to be cautious, because even though we're almost at the end, history have shown that we've had disturbances, we've had hurricanes, we've had tropical storms, whatever the case might be, even after the 30th of November, which is the final day of the hurricane season. That being said, earlier, no, not this week, last week, there was a disturbance in the Gulf of Mexico. I think the hurricane was Sarah. For a brief moment, we would have had a hurricane, It didn't do any damage per se, other than a lot of rain down in South America, Honduras, Belize, and those parts. But it quickly disappeared, and we were happy when that took place, because it could have gone anywhere. It could have come to the east, it could have gone to the north, and of course the United States would have been one of those places it could have made landfall. And they have had some challenges over the last couple of months with a couple of hurricanes. And even though it's not in our backyard or in our neck of the woods, so to speak, it is always a concern, because these storms would take paths or go in certain directions that we don't have any control over. But even though the United States is filled with a lot of and have a lot of resources, we certainly sympathize with them and certainly bear part with them in that, you know, you can have your house well built and nicely furnished, and then within the space of an hour, 2 hours, all that can vanish and be gone with one of these major storms. So that is why it is a difficult proposition when these storms are heading our way or to any other country, and we always pray that people's lives are spared and their properties are not damaged. But such is life. It do happen from time to time, and they would have had to deal with a lot up there in Florida, in Georgia, and North Carolina, and those states. And we're hoping that if any of our citizens who are impacted, they are now recovering nicely to the point where they can live comfortably as best as they can at this point in time. But the hurricane season is one that is always a challenge for all of us. It is a stressful time, and when nothing happens in our neck of the woods, we are always happy, and we are happy to say thank you, Father, thank you, God, for his divine intervention and protection. And speaking of that, on the 2nd of December, this was announced in church on Sunday, I believe, on the 2nd of December over there at the St. James Anglican Church, there is a Thanksgiving service, to give God thanks for his protection throughout the hurricane season that would come to an end on the 30th of November. And so I am inviting one and all to come over to St. James Anglican Church. We seldom have these type of events over at my church, but this time it is chosen for some reasons, and I'm certain the reasons are good reasons to show up there. I believe it starts at 5 p.m. on the 2nd of December. That's a Monday afternoon. So I am asking persons to pay attention, listen up to the various media houses, and I believe this announcement will be in the various churches, because it's being hosted by the Christian Council, I believe, either the Christian Council or the Evangelical Association, but I believe it's the Nevis Christian Council. But it was announced. Can't seem to recall all of the details, but I know for a fact that it is on December the 2nd, 5 p.m. thereabout, over there at the St. James Anglican Church. And one and all, you're invited to attend to give God thanks. When things are good, give God thanks. When things are bad, you give God thanks the same way. But you know he will never give us more than we can bear in the end. Anyway, so that's that for that event. And also let me put in another plug here for another event that will take place over at the old Whitehall School grounds. That is right there. Well, the grounds are opposite where the old Whitehall School was. Anyway, there's a hard court there, a basketball court, a multi-purpose court. It will be on that court. This is a pork and beer festival. This is the 4th hosting of that particular event. It is hosted by the Links Promotion Group there in Brick Hill. Jariv and his crew, they're the ones who are responsible for that. That event is tomorrow, Saturday the 23rd of November. I believe it starts somewhere around midday. It goes down until, I say until because they'll have so much music over there. I understand they'll have a band over there. I believe it's the New Vibes band or the Odyssey band. They'll have DJs. Don't have the flyer to me, but I have mentioned it from time to time here on the program. Over the past couple of weeks I would have done so. But that event is in its 4th edition, so to speak. And so it was a grand event last year, and this year is expected to be even better. So I'm inviting one and all. It is a special event in that it gives a chance for you, the general public, to savor and to taste some of the different dishes that are made with pork meat. So you have barbecue pork that will be available, stew pork that will be available. Well, whatever other pork. I don't know all of the pork. I'm not that good at cooking that type of meat anyway. But it will be available along with beer. So it's a pork and beer festival. Other drinks will be there. Other food items will be there. But there'll be enough food and drinks to last the whole day, whole night. So it is that big an event, and I want the general public to support it because there's some young people who are involved in it, and of course this is an idea that was put to them some years ago, and they ran with it, and they've been able to grow it over the years to the point where persons were meeting me months ago and asking me if this event is still on this year. So it is on, and you're all welcome to come on over to Whitehall, well, on the outskirts of Brick Hill, right there on the hard court, starting at noon, midday tomorrow, and it goes down until, be going down until midnight, I suppose, after midnight as well. But music, fun, drinks, pork, beer, all kind of drinks, all kind of eats. So go on out and lend your support. I also want to put in a plug as well for an event here that I was asked to promote for the Combomere Methodist Church, and this will be held on Sunday afternoon. So let me pull it up quickly here. Let's see quickly. Yes, the Combomere Methodist Church is having their Advent Youth Musical. This is an annual event, so it's being held on Sunday afternoon, this Sunday at 4:30 p.m. They have indicated that seating is at 4 p.m., so they want you to be there early. Take your seat and be ready to be entertained by the young people who are being, trained and taught by, I believe, what's his name? Steph, I think. Mr. Williams, though. I forget his first name. But anyway, the most important thing, though, is that the Combomere Methodist Church will be having this event on Sunday afternoon, starting at 4:30, but they want you to be there by 4 p.m. to be seated so that you can enjoy an afternoon of lovely music. I believe there'll be horn, meaning trombone, saxophone, trumpet, and guitar, and the whole thing. Musical. It's a musical presentation, so it will be a good event to go to. And they're suggesting here that the financial contributions that would be collected will go towards children learning to play instrument and perhaps to buy instruments as well. So this is a worthy cause. There is no admission fee. I don't think I see anything here of admission fee. No, but they're suggesting that whatever you contribute will go towards a worthy cause, or worthy causes, if you want to put it that way, to buy instrument and also to teach the young children how to play these instruments. So that is something worth attending on Sunday afternoon, the 24th of November. Okay, so that takes care of that, and I believe if I come up with any other information that I want to impart, I'll do so as I go along. Okay, so I have been missing for a couple of weeks, and since I have not been here, I haven't been able to provide to the general public the data that we normally provide regarding the movement of passengers over there at the Wally Water Taxi Facility. We keep track of these data because it is important. And why it is important is because we have said from the get-go that this facility, we saw it as a means of providing an easy connection to St. Kitts via these water taxis from Wally to Reggae Beach, from Wally to even Port Zante, for example. That is what we said from day one. It was also a means by which this government, the Concerned Citizens Movement in government, saw the need for it so that they can broaden the horizon in terms of providing jobs, providing business opportunities, and providing an avenue through with persons who want to go across to St. Kitts, to Park Hyatt, for example, to find employment, which of course that hotel is right in the heart of Nevis, so to speak, so Nevisians could benefit, and also those who work down in Bastion and so forth. Also that connection to RLB and the like. So it was meant to create that ease of transportation between St. Kitts and Nevis, timely transportation in terms of the timing, where you can pick up the phone and call one of the operators at any time, because even though some operators end their schedule at 10 o'clock or 10:30 in the evening or 11 o'clock, whatever the time might be, there are times when you can get them to transport you even at 1 o'clock in the morning if you have an engagement in St. Kitts, whatever the case might be. So it is like an on-demand service, so to speak. Also, there is a scheduled service, but you can also get on demand, and that's why at one point I would have categorized it as Uber and water. Yeah, okay. So I wasn't able to provide the data for September of this year, September. So let me give those quickly so that at least we can get an appreciation as to how much growth is taking place over there in terms of the passenger movement. We knew it was going to be a success, and we are seeing success unfold in front of us. So let us go and let us look at these numbers. So for September, passengers coming from Reggae Beach to Wally Water Taxi Facility, you're looking at 12,078 passengers. Passengers leaving Wally going to Reggae Beach, 11,401 passengers. So for a total of 23,479 passengers would have used that facility coming in and going out. Up to the end of August, we know the data would have shown, or the numbers were as such. 219,261 passengers would have used the facility up to the end of August. So we are now adding September to that, and we are saying when you add 23,479 passengers, you're getting now up to the end of September 242,740 passengers would have used that facility over there at Wally. That's the Wally Water Taxi Facility, going and coming. Now we also have the data for October 2024, and what we are showing is that for passengers leaving Reggae Beach coming to Wally, 10,409 passengers, and leaving Wally going to Reggae Beach and beyond, for example, you're looking at 9,812 passengers, for a total of 20,211 passengers for the month of October. You add that then to the tally waving keeping up to the end of September, so you add that to 242,740 passengers, you now have a total as at the end of October 262,951 passengers. Well, I smile because if anyone tell me that is not a phenomenal number, well, something is wrong. But I will say and reiterate, those are phenomenal numbers. 262,951 passengers would have used that facility over the past 10 months. We're going to have November when it's all said and done, when it's all said and done. And then, of course, God's willing, we'll go on to December, which normally is a robust month in terms of movement of passengers. You know, it's Christmas time. You have persons who are going down to Carnival in St. Kitts and the likes. So we are expecting to perhaps surpass the 300,000 passenger movement mark over there at the Wally Water Taxi Facility. And so I can recall back in 2023, I believe we would have seen just over 244,000 passengers who would have used that facility throughout the year of 2023. So at this time we have already surpassed what we would have done for 2023, and it is about 20,000 passengers over and above what we would have done for that year, 2023. And we're still counting, we're still adding. So this is what we call phenomenal progress. And you know, I have to continue to reiterate the importance of that project. And we'll talk about the airport just now. But when that was constructed, just what is happening is what we anticipated. And we love to talk about the negatives that are happening on the island of Nevis. But this is something tremendous and something that is positive for the island of Nevis. Because you listen to persons who would have used the facility or using it for the first time or continue to use the facility, and they have nothing but glowing things to say. And that is why I always reiterate, and I'm going to say again, that those who interact with the passengers who are using the facility, I'm asking you to offer your best service. You want to be on your best behavior and ensure that you're at your best at all times, because you are a reflection of the facility. You are a reflection of the entity NASPER who manages that facility. And indeed, what you offer could be the first thing someone meet or the first experience that someone will encounter when they come. And there's a saying that you don't get a second chance to how does it go again? You never get a second chance to offer a first impression. Oh yes, yeah, first impression counts. Yes, I got it now. First impression counts. And they say you never get a second chance to offer a second chance to offer a first impression, something like that. But those of you who are familiar with that saying will know exactly how it goes. It may come back to me, but I suppose everyone who is listening get the essence of what I'm trying to say. Always offer makes your first impression count, not your second impression, first. Okay, so the Holy Water Taxi Facility, persons continue to make money. And it seems as though there are some persons who are offended when we say money is being made here in Nevis. Enough money is being made in Nevis, not by me. I'm glad for those who are making money. There are people who are making money right out there at Holy Water Taxi. Those who are operating their taxi, their on-land taxi, those taxi vans, they make some money. Those who operate the water taxis, they make money. The employees of each of those businesses out there make money. NASPA makes some money. The government itself makes some money because, of course, those business entities have to pay their taxes. And indeed, they have to spend money to buy lubes and fuel and parts and the likes. So those vendors who sell those stuff around Nevis, they make money as well. So money is being made, enough money. And people seem to be offended when they hear people are making money. All I want to say, those who are making money, find some way to make some more in a legal way. Because if money is being made, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. There's always good. It's always good when people can make good, clean money. And that is what is happening over there at the Holy Water Taxi Facility. And all of the restaurants and bars and guest houses and hotels and everyone here in Nevis who have some interaction with someone who uses that facility, they normally leave some money behind. So money is being made, and that is a good thing. And money will continue to be made once we keep the services going. And so it continues to grow in its importance, and it grows in its value, and that is what we want to happen. And so it gives me the opportunity now to segue into the airport expansion project that we are hoping to break ground and have initiated early next year, very early next year. You know, we've been working at this thing for quite some time because we engaged Perez Engineering somewhere back in 2015. We had our challenges, of course, when it came to 2020 with COVID-19. Everything was put on hold. All the plans and all of the thinking that we had behind this project were put on hold. But at least we were able to pick that up back in early 2023 once again. And indeed, we have made some progress over the last year and change. And of course, I am so pleased that we've been able to have, at least to this point, 3 consultations. The last one was held last Thursday up there at the Pond Hill Community Center, where we presented the environmental impact, environmental and social impact assessment. And indeed, I will say publicly and let the public know that that document is available for you to peruse or to inspect or to read or examine down there at the public library. And I believe it is being made available as well electronically. There are some persons who would have requested that, and I believe the Ministry of Communications and Work or Planning Department would have made that available via electronic means. Be that as it may, I did say over at the Parnell Community Center that we are moving these town hall meetings throughout the island of Nevis because the project, even though it is in St. James and the airport is in St. James, the airport expansion and rehabilitation project is for the entire island of Nevis. So everyone in Nevis have a stake in it, and everyone in Nevis must know what is going on with the project. And we've been transparent up to this point in time, and will continue to be transparent going forward. I will also say that we will have additional town hall meetings, and we'll also have, once this project gets going, we will have regular interactions with the general public in terms of public service public service announcements, and also we'll have, you know, the news media will be informed as we go along. Every step of the way, we'll make sure that information is readily available to the general public. So we went to the Parnell Community Center. We'll go to St. John's. We'll go to St. Thomas Parish. And we know that persons from all of these parishes here on the island of Nevis currently work. Someone from all of these parishes work at the Vance Winkworth Amory International Airport. And so we expect many more persons from throughout the island of Nevis to be employed at some point at the Vance Amory International Airport, whether it's during the construction phase or during the operational phases, when you have various areas of the airport where positions will need to be filled. But anyway, we had that town hall meeting, and the turnout was good, and we appreciate all who came and voiced their concerns and opinions and asked questions. And indeed, as time unfolds, questions will be raised as well, and answers will be provided. But of course, it went well in my opinion, and indeed it was one that was well worth engaging the public and those who came as well. But what is anticipated with this particular project is that we will be extending the runway, and based on the information that we would have garnered at that particular town hall meeting, we will have approximately 6,000 feet of runway, just over, a little over 6,000 feet of runway. I believe is about 6,050 feet of runway. That will be available, of course, for takeoff. So that will be that include all of your takeoff distance, yes. And indeed, for landing, you'll have just about 4,400 plus feet of runway for landing. But the entire length for takeoff will be approximately 6,000 feet, or just over 6,000 feet. Indeed, we are going to improve the lighting, the runway lighting. We will improve, of course, the entire runway will be resurfaced, yes, to ensure that we have the strength of runway to, to accommodate heavier aircraft. Right now, as it is, we have quite a number of business jets that are coming, but the one that we are seeking to attract first and foremost is that Embraer 175, which normally comes out of Miami, and indeed other aircraft of similar type that will be coming into Vance Amory by way of charter or any other commercial airline that will see it fit to come to Nevis to do business, because the business opportunities will be there, the airlift will be there, because we are a market that is growing and a destination that is known by quote unquote the rich and famous and others. And we want to make sure that we are providing the amenities here on the island of Nevis to ensure that our people can come to us. You know, while I'm at that, because I'm going to get back to what is contemplated regarding the proposed development. But you know, I was thinking the other day that the American Eagle used to come. This is a little bit of history. The American Eagle used to come back in the years 2003, there about 2004, 5, 6, 7, up until 2008. Then there was a meltdown worldwide. There was a financial crisis throughout the world, and there were difficulties then. Not as bad as what happened during COVID, but anyway, there were some challenges then. But prior to that, we would have seen how robust those flights were. We had a flight that came in at about 5 p.m. in the afternoon on a given day, because these flights came 7 days a week. 7 days a week. So let's say, for example, this afternoon, Friday afternoon, the American Eagle will come in. That's the ATR 72, which carried what? About 72 passengers. I don't think it was coming with that amount because of restrictions, though. But it came with over 50 passengers, I believe. But it was always considered to be full when it came. So it came in at 5 p.m. in the afternoon. It will on a Friday afternoon, just like this afternoon. Then it leave at 7 a.m. the following day, which is Saturday. Come back at 1 p.m. that Saturday, leave at 2 p.m. and then come back again at 5 p.m. and overnighted on the following day. So let's say tomorrow, Saturday evening, it will come in and overnight. I'm just trying to be as clear as I possibly can. So we had at least 4 flights per day with American Eagle. So it left in the morning, came back at 1, left at 2, came back at 5. So 4. And every time it came, it was filled with passengers for 4 seasons, filled with all local citizens and residents, and filled with persons who were staying at the various properties here on the island of Nevis. It warmed my heart and my ears when I heard one of the Yarwood said over there at the Franklin Brown Community Center that his hotel did the best and the most business when American Eagle was flying in and out of Nevis. And that is true. American Eagle would have provided airlift to Nevis, connecting Nevis to the United States or the U.S. market, albeit it was San Juan. Now, of course, the connection is Miami, because San Juan, American would have taken their hub, the main hub, up to Miami. But of course, persons who are leaving Nevis, going to San Juan, and then from San Juan they would have gone into Miami, into New York, into various parts of the United States, Chicago, to the West Coast, California, Washington States, wherever. Not only that, persons were using Van Samry into Puerto Rico to get to Europe as well. Because out of Miami you would have caught, let's say, a British Airways. Out of Miami you would have caught perhaps a Lufthansa. You'd have caught perhaps Air France and gone to France. Gone to, in the case of Lufthansa, gone into Germany, for example. And of course you would have used one of those Asian airlines to get into Asia and into the Gulf, like say Qatar. But that was happening out of Nevis into Puerto Rico, and then from Puerto Rico you go on into any direction you so desire, or wherever your homeland is. So we are saying now that we want to have that connection with Miami, for example, where all of those airlines will then take passengers to the various destinations that they're trying to get to, whether it's throughout the United States, or whether it's to Europe, to Asia, or wherever their final destination is. And the question is, who would not want that to happen? Who would not want that to happen? When you look around us, for example, Jamaica, you have the Norman Manley International Airport. You have the Sangster Airport, I think it's called. And then you go up into the northeast of Jamaica. They just opened up scheduled flights there from Miami with the same Embraer 175 into the north of Jamaica. And they're now contemplating going to different markets in the United States as well. So they now have those 3 areas you can now fly into Jamaica, in and out of Jamaica. What is happening there now is that persons now have an easier way to get to their destination. That is competition for us. Same thing with the Bahamas. Multiple airports in Bahamas. Bermuda have their airport. You come down the chain, everybody's either renovating their their terminal, renovating their airport in some way, extending their runway. Same thing down in Anguilla, they're building a brand new terminal, extending their runway. In St. Martin, some of those in the NRP were up there putting up all kind of fancy pictures about the terminal down in St. Martin and how beautiful it looks. Yes, it looks beautiful, but we also want the same thing to happen in Nevis. You go down south of us, Dominica has broken ground for an international airport. You go further south, St. Vincent and the Grenadines have 4 airports down there in that country, and they just opened up a few years ago a brand new international airport where they're now getting flights from Europe. They're getting flights from Canada. They're getting flights from the United States. So my question to all those who are naysayers and all those who are mischief makers, well, nothing for Nevis now? When Nevis don't need an airport? Some may say, well, it's over there, it's dead. Yes, well, you can say whatever you want. Perhaps it is dead. It is not buried, though. It is not buried. It may be slow. Yes, but we have to acknowledge that the infrastructure as it stands over there cannot support anything more than what is happening over there now. And that is why we are saying and we are pressing on with this effort to extend the runway, expand the terminal, build a new fire hall, renovate the existing tower, because based on the experts, they're saying that the structure itself is sound. And then, of course, provide additional apron space for parking, build a hangar, build also a fuel farm, because you know a lot of money is made out of the sale of fuel, and indeed that for fuel farm will be built with a capacity of somewhere around 200,000 gallons of fuel they can hold over there. Plus, we are building a brand new custom facility as well, and an FBO as well too. That is a part of our overall development plan for this construction phase that we're coming up with shortly. So that is what we're doing. So if everyone around us are competing, you know, you have this slice of cake. Call it the tourism market is so small here in the Caribbean. Everybody is fighting for every tourist dollar and every tourist that is out there seeking for a destination to go to. Remember, tourists go to Europe, they go to all over Asia, they go to South America, and they come to the Caribbean. A certain percentage. Of that percentage, Jamaica want their percentage. Bahamas want their percentage. Bermuda want their percentage. Everybody along the chain of islands coming down, heading down south, even down to Guyana, want their percentage out of that particular percentage of tourists that are available to us here in the Caribbean. And so they are seeking to make it easy for their destination to be known and to be accessed. And we have said before that we are not out there competing per se with anybody directly. We know that we have had persons who have had to go from point A to point C to get to point B, which is Nevis. They have moved from point A to point C to point D to get to point B, which is Nevis. And so people get frustrated. People decide, I'm not going there because it's too much of a hassle. You miss out on the tourist dollar. That is the revenue that we need to keep the island of Nevis functioning and to keep the island of Nevis progressing. And so we are working towards ensuring that we are eliminating those challenges and those difficulties. And of course, the people of Nevis can have the confidence that the Concerned Citizens Movement have said that they're undertaking this project, and we are at the point where we're about to launch off with this project. You'll hear more about it, but we're anticipating that at the start of the new year, good things are going to happen in Nevis, and that is going to provide jobs for persons in the construction phase. And I want our people to ready themselves, because even after the construction phase is done and the airport is functional, you'll have needs for airline attendants, ramp attendants, persons who will deal with the refueling of aircraft, and then of course you'll need to have engineers and technical people who would do testing of fuel, who would work in the labs over there, who would ensure that the fuel is safe. And also you'll have persons who work in the FBO, or the fixed base operation. Also persons who would maintain the grounds, or the premises of the facility. And persons in every area, customs, more customs officers, additional security officers, NASPA will have need for workers, and so forth. So we'll have an increase in the amount of employment that is available to persons here on the island of Nevis, or young people will be gainfully employed over there, and we want our young people to ready themselves. Because some time ago, I believe sometime last year, it might have been earlier this year, I had some discussions with some young fellows there in Newcastle, and we were talking about the airport expansion, and they were asking, is this thing going to happen? Well, they said Zook. Zook is my correct name anyway. By Zook, this thing is going to happen? I said, of course. It is for you, younger fellows who are coming up in the world. This is for you. Well, I tell them, every opportunity to get an employment, any form of employment, they seek it out and make sure that you take advantage. But lo and behold, one of them said, well, I see some persons came up here, well, they were not so young, protesting against the airport. They were not so young. I believe some of them were over 60 and go. I'm not knocking anybody for the age, because all of us will get to our 60s and 70s, God's willing. But when I look at who was down there protesting, none of them were young. Young people ain't going out to protest against a development like the airport like that. Young people are enthusiastic about it because some of them have their trucks, some of them have their backhoes, some of them have their excavators, some of them have various equipment that will be used in the construction phase of this particular development. And so they're seeking to have this development done for them. So they're going to work on this particular project. They're going to benefit from it, and then they're the ones who will pay the taxes to ensure that the monies that are borrowed are repaid. Some of us who are older, who are getting out of this thing and heading on, it is not for us, because 30, 40 years from us, years from now, I can safely say I won't be alive, unless by some miraculous means the Lord provide me with more than my fair share. But I will say this, that those who are in the 20s very well would be around to see the success of that development and reap the benefit of that. And that is why those young fellows were saying, listen, we want this thing. We understand the future of the island of Nevis depend on it. We understand our future depend upon access to our island and bringing our guests here and making sure they can come directly to us. And so the rippling effect through the economy will be a bonus and a plus for us as young people. That's what they were saying. And I want our young people to understand that that facility will be for them first and foremost to work and to benefit from. But also in the overall scheme and the larger picture, it is for our guests and our citizens who are traveling in and out, or who will be traveling in and out of our island, more specifically the Van Summer International Airport, for them to have that ease of access and to ensure that they're coming to us and they're coming here in quick time to spend their money and to partake in all of the amenities we have here. I will say to you, the listening public, the tourism product we have here on the island surpasses many of our regional partners. It is one that is rich in history. We can always boast of being the island where Alexander Hamilton was born. We had one of the first hotel that was constructed here in the Caribbean, that Bath Hotel, built in 1778, I believe. 1778. Those hot springs that are down there that were renovated, that environment that was renovated by the CCM-led Nevis Island administration, marvelous job. It's all done to improve the product and to ensure that when persons come and they visit that site, they can be pleased with what they see and what encounter they have there. But those hot springs have their historical value to it. They also have their therapeutic value to it that were sought after many years ago and still being sought after today. So even though the airport is not as robust as it is, persons are still coming. Well, imagine when the airport become even more robust, up and running, say in the next 18 months, thereabout. More people are going to come. More people are going to visit that site. More people are going to visit the Heritage Village. More people are going to visit over here at Fort Charles. More people are going to visit New River. More people are going to visit all of our plantations here on the island of Nevis. More people are going to visit our bars and shops and hotels and everything. More for our economy. And that is what this investment is all about. An improvement in our economy here on the island of Nevis. We have asked for it, or most persons are asking for it, and we are going to deliver. And more will be said regarding financing and the likes, because that seemed to be the question of the day. Every day, how it would be funded. It will be funded because we will be in partnership with the overall financing and construction of this particular facility. And of course, we will speak more about that. The Ministry of Finance will work the details out, and they will be disseminated accordingly by the Minister of Finance or the Ministry of Finance. There's nothing to hide. But when it's all said and done, what I can safely say is that we'll have a project that will take Nevis to the next level of development and a next avenue through which many more people can have access to the island of Nevis, just like the water taxi facility, just like the Charlestown Pier. But I will say that the Vance Winkworth Amory International Airport is one that will make air travel far much more easier for those who will come to us and will leave this place to go to the various parts of the world. And so I anticipate even this coming tourist season, starting in December, there will be an increase in the amount of private jets, I believe, that will be coming into Vance Amory International Airport. That is the understanding I have, and it is something that I anticipate will be the case. So we look forward to that. That will be somewhat of an idea as to what can happen and will happen even more when we get that project all said and done. I decided to come and spend some time on this airport project this afternoon. There are some other things that I would have liked to go through, but we have just a few more minutes. But I want to say to you that we continue to work. We continue to work as an administration, and I want to commend the Honorable Mark Brantley and his team for continuing to press on. You know, the naysayers are out there. A lot of things can be said, and politics is what it is. There'll be politics played in everything, yeah? And some will come with some negative thoughts, negative thinking, but when it's all said and done, if we can provide the people of Nevis with a much better picture and much better results than to just talk, then that is what we are destined to do, and that is what we want to do, in providing more results than talk. Yeah? And that is what the Premier and his cabinet continue to do, is to produce. We can talk about water, but we won't touch water, because that is something else that can take a long time to delve into. But of course, those of you who live in the Brickhill area, more specifically in the Whitehall area, you will see some water coming off of the playfield there, running down in the drain. That is actually testing of the second well up there at the back of what was once the Celia Johnson Library or Computer Center. That is a well that was dug just in that vicinity, and of course they're testing that well, and indeed there are a few more wells to be dug. So that is the second of, I believe, 9 wells that will be dug and tested and made available for us here in Nevis, so that we can, you know, overcome any future challenges with water. And I indeed, the government must be commended as well, again, for doing so, because water is life, and indeed every investment in water and in any other resource or infrastructure here on the island of Nevis is important to the overall development of the island. And we feel good about the future of Nevis, and we must all feel good and feel comfortable about the direction in which we are going. We are heading in the right direction and doing the right things to ensure that there is sustainability in our economy and sustainability in our growth and development here as a people and as an island. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I believe we are on the cuff of 2 o'clock, and that is just about an hour for me. And indeed, it was my pleasure being here this afternoon. It is always a pleasure coming, and it's always sad when I have to go, but I have to end now and say thank you for listening. It was indeed my pleasure. And of course, I mentioned earlier those events that are coming up over the weekend. Go on YouTube and replay the show to get an idea as to what is happening over in the St. James area over the weekend. Lots of activity. We are known for activities over there, and we are known for a good time. So come on out and join us. I want to thank you once again. Have a wonderful weekend. If you go to church on Saturday, please go and serve your God. If you go on Sunday, kindly go and say a prayer for this island. May God continue to bless us, bless the island of Davis, and bless all of our going and coming. May God bless you always. Thank you.
The views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcasting Company Limited or its advertisers.
With all the power from the tower, this is the powerhouse of the Eastern Caribbean, VON Radio, from the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis.
The afternoon time has moved.